Welcome to another podcast with SR Snodgrass. Today, I am excited to speak with Mary Pockl, who is a principal in our Audit and Assurance Group, as well as with Terry Edwards, who is a nonprofit consultant and trainer. Welcome to the podcast. So let's hear a little bit about some background information. How did you get involved with nonprofits? How long have you been working with them? What are some areas, that you've really helped them excel, so to speak? Mary, could you share some background information with us first?
Sure, Lenore. So I've been in public accounting I'm going into my 38th year. And kind of been working with nonprofits from the very beginning. I started working for a nonprofit quasi-governmental agencies back in the 80s, which dates me. But and from that, I really got exposure to public accounting, and that was where I knew that's where I wanted to be. So I started in public accounting actually with Snodgrass in 1987, and have been here ever since. And truly enjoy working with my not-for-profit clients.
That's great. Thanks so much for sharing that information. And Terry, how about you?
I started in the nonprofit world in the early 80s, so I date myself like Ms. Mary, working at a community action agency in Western Ohio as a finance director. Then I went to work for the state of Ohio as a program compliance officer and said, this is not for me, I need to be near numbers. So got my CPA license and became an auditor, worked there for 32 years, retired during COVID. And then Mary called me one day and said, hey, don't you want to work part-time for us? And since this was my favorite audit firm that I ever dealt with when I worked for the state, although I couldn't say that, I said, absolutely.
That's great to hear. And I'm hearing about flexibility was really important to you.
Yeah, yes.
So I'm also picking up on the fact that there's a lot of expertise here. So talking about expertise, especially with how it relates to how we've serviced nonprofit clients, Mary, do you want to share with us what makes our firm's approach unique and advantageous to clients?
So, Lenore, I think we really try to get involved with our clients. And there's obviously independence, when we're talking about an audit client. But we try to invest in our clients, and it's not just giving them an audit report because they're required by laws or regulations to get an audit report. But our approach is to really look at ways we can help the client in that audit process. Maybe if it's just a suggestion on maybe gaining additional efficiencies and some things that they do, offering some best practices. And I think because we audit so many nonprofits, we can take best practices from different clients and share those with our clients to try to help them along the way. We always try to give them something more than just the written report when we walk out the door. Another way we do is we encourage our clients to call us throughout the year. We'd love to have that year-long contact with them. So it's not unusual to get an email every day from one of our clients just asking a question, how should I handle this, or what would you recommend, or we need help with something. So again, having that year-long contact with our clients, I think, is a very positive thing that we try to encourage with all of our clients.
So it sounds like that's a value-added service then, because it's more
Absolutely.
than just an audit, just a report as a final product.
Right.
And also it sounds that by helping them in that way, you're also kind of ensuring that the audit will go a little more smoothly too, because you're not finding things out once a year then.
You're right. So it's a benefit to our clients, but it's also a benefit to us, and that's exactly right. And that's one thing we tell them, that no one likes surprises like bad surprises, right? So it's always good to know if you're having an issue or you're just not sure how to handle something, or a new reg comes out, new compliance area, give us a call. Let's brainstorm and talk it over. So we've helped them. Then when we go in, we know how they're handling it, and it's being handled right. So I think our clients do appreciate that.
That's great to hear. Terry, could you share with us some of the ways that we service nonprofits and community action agencies as well?
Sure. Besides the traditional audit work that we do for the nonprofit clients and community action, we also do some back office bookkeeping for the smaller nonprofits that can't afford to pay a staff person. My role in particular is geared to the training and the technical assistance, either on a one-on-one basis or in a group setting.
What are some of the examples of trainings that you've provided to them?
Over the last couple of years, we've done a series of 2 CFR 200 uniform guidance training to I think about 35 community action agencies in Ohio. We've done workshops on indirect cost allocations, new CFO onboarding, board roles and responsibilities as it relates to nonprofits, community action specifically, and some review of nonprofits' financial policies and procedures.
So that's quite the variety.
Quite a
and
variety.
a lot of expertise that you're sharing with them is
Thank
what
you.
it sounds like.
Thanks. Yeah.
Mary, are there some other areas that you want to talk about, ways that we've helped them, trainings we've provided, and things like that as well?
Sure. So we've also done a series of like lunch and learn type trainings. So it's on a variety of topics, and just really it is what it sounds. Doing like an hour and a half during lunchtime, during a break, doing team meetings, and just talking about a variety of topics that they're interested in and doing some trainings. We also have provided trainings and spoke at state conferences like the Ohio Association of Community Actions. We've also done that for the state of West Virginia Community Action Group as well. And in the past, myself and Mike Zeno from our firm have spoken at CAPLAW, which is a national organization that assists community action agencies as well.
It sounds like you've really assisted a lot of them over the period of time by which you've been providing trainings to them. I think that's fabulous.
Thanks.
So, Terry, could you tell me about an upcoming hot topic that is affecting nonprofits?
Oh, sure. Most recently, OMB issued some guidance that proposed guidance that would affect nonprofits, which we refer to in the business as the uniform guidance. Some of those include increasing the single audit threshold from $750,000 to $1 million. Increasing the de minimis indirect costs from currently at 10% to maybe 15%, which would be a big benefit to our nonprofit clients, small ones. Increasing the threshold for definition of equipment from 5,000 to 10,000, and removing some written prior approvals.
So it sounds like you have to keep up to date with all of those and one step ahead for the clients in order to really be a trusted advisor for them.
Exactly.
Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
Mary, what about you? What are you seeing regarding nonprofits or even the community action agencies that you're assisting them with, and what's coming up with them too?
Okay. Well, in addition to what Terry said, on the changes, because obviously when there's changes in regulation, that's when our calls numbers start to go up, and certainly they're interested on how is this going to impact their organization. But another thing that I think we're seeing with our clients is no different than probably every industry in the country right now. Everybody's looking at labor shortages. Well, it's really severely impacted, I think, a lot of nonprofits. And we're seeing retirements, people that have been there for 20, 30, 35 years, especially in fiscal positions, are retiring out. So it's been very challenging for them to first find replacements and learn how to work, I guess, with less people in the finance department. So that's kind of where we come in, and we help, again, when we're providing a product or we're doing consulting, how can we help you use the software that they have to become more efficient and maybe save some time. Cost allocation is a big way to try to save some time. So trying to work with them and just finding those little things that they can do to work, I guess, more efficient with less staff.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's about building those efficiencies at that point then.
Absolutely.
Because the work still needs done.
Right.
That's really interesting, Mary, and thanks for sharing that. Can you give us another example about, how you're helping them and how this kind of ties together then with your experience?
So, Lenore, part of my career wasn't just in working with not-for-profits. I did a lot of work with financial institutions, and specifically working with the Risk Advisory Group and doing internal audit services. So we dealt a lot with controls, processes, and procedures, in that side of the business that I worked in. And you can really take a lot of that experience and we can move that into the nonprofit world. And again, looking at, do you have proper processes, controls, and efficiencies in place? And so kind of taking all of that experience, even though it might have been in a different industry, it really relates well in any industry that you're working in, and we are using that in the not-for-profit industry as well.
That's great to hear. Thank you. So, Terry, my understanding, we work with a lot of nonprofit groups overall, and it sounds like the community action agencies have their own unique set of challenges that they work with and their own ways of working. Can you share a little bit more about that with us?
Sure, Lenore. First and foremost, unlike a traditional not-for-profit, they have multiple funding sources from federal, state, local grants, some fundraising activities or project income, service revenue. With each of those funding sources, there's not one steady stream of time or money. So all the dollars are different from month to month, year to year, and all the timing is different. So it's not just January to December, July to June. I mean, you could have a grant starting virtually any one of 12 months out of the year. In addition to that, they have to share their costs. So I'm not just going to pay the rent and one pot of money is going to pay that rent. Everybody has to pay their share of that rent. So the allocation of those joint shared costs is another complexity that they have to deal with on a regular basis. Most recently, we've had a lot of turnover, as Mary mentioned, with CFOs. People have been around 30, 35 years. They think they've done their duty to God, country, and community action, and they want to retire. We let them do that, or their boards let them do that, and then there's a whole new set generation that has to learn all that, and that's a real hard thing. And then I'm going to let Mary talk about year-end close stuff, because she knows more about that than I do.
So as Terry mentioned, yeah, there's a lot of complexities for the finance departments and community action, and I honestly think they're probably one of the hardest working groups I've ever had, the pleasure of working with, because it isn't just all about the numbers. They're also dealing with their program directors and making sure there's program reports and finance reports related to particular grants that get filed on time. So as Terry said, there is just continuous work being done in the fiscal departments to meet report deadlines, just day after day, month after month. And so one of the nuances is under the uniform guidance, so the agencies are required to present annual financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So that creates a whole different kind of issue for them, because they're so used to like grant reporting, which in a lot of cases could be on a cash basis. And not to get too technical here, but it really, we kind of joke in a way, and we always talk about, keeping two sets of books. Well, in community action and some other actual nonprofits that would be following uniform guidance, they technically do have to do that, because they have to report to their grant and their funders under one set of principles or requirements, and they have to do their annual reports under a whole separate set and under GAAP. And so that's where there's a lot of time involved in the year-end close, and that's probably where we get most involved in trying to help them facilitate that process and try to make it as less cumbersome as possible to work through that process at year-end.
Thanks for sharing that. Can you also talk a little bit about some of our clients in the sense of, at Snodgrass, I know we have a history of serving clients for a long period of time. Could you talk about some of those long-standing relationships with clients, how you've, helped them over the years, as well as just in general, what keeps them coming back to Snodgrass?
Sure, Lenore. So there are several clients that literally I have worked on since I started, and it's kind of funny to be presenting at these boards now, and I still remember the first day I might have been on site, at their organization. And I've gone through some changes, some executive director, fiscal director, board changes, with a lot of my clients. I think that because we provide that service to them where they don't look at it as just these auditors coming in at the end of the year, that we do add some value to them, and they do look at us from consultants as well as, providing a worthy service to them. And I think that's what keeps them, our clients. We have myself, Mike Zeno, and of course, Terry. We've been involved with some of these clients for a long, long time. So we have the rapport with them, and they're not shy about calling us when they have problems. So it's not where they're trying to hide things from us. They're very upfront with, hey, how can you help us? And we're there, and we hope that we do provide that service to them and give them some of that comfort that we are there to help them as an advisor.
Well, it sounds like that's a very clear reason why we've been able to successfully service and help them over the years. Terry, let's circle back around to the training that you provide to community action agencies. I can tell that you really have a passion for helping them and that you have the expertise to truly help them as well. Can you get into some more detail about that for us?
Sure. Upon their request, or if we have a contract with an entity, we'll go on site to a nonprofit or community action agencies and provide one-on-one training to them for whatever topic that they have a need for. And I mentioned recently, I think it was about a year ago, I went to I think it was 35 community action agencies across the state of Ohio, and I did uniform guidance training for them. Gave them ABCs of the uniform guidance. And the reason we wanted to do that one-on-one with them instead of in like a conference setting where there's 200 or 300 people is when you do it with a smaller number of people, I think people are more likely to ask questions. They're not going to be so embarrassed. And because, as we said earlier, every community action is unique, then if they had a unique situation to them, they could, ask me. So I did that, 35 out of about 40-something community action agencies, touched over 500 employees.
That's
at the
impressive.
various agencies. Yeah, it was
That's a lot of
lot of
people.
fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Thanks for sharing that. That sounds like you really made an impact to them and their organization then, especially with that one-on-one training. And again, being more proactive about providing the training instead of reactive of, oh, whoops, they've needed this type of thing.
Right, and I did preface everything that, whether it was our clients or not our clients, that it was a safe space. So if they asked me a question that was going to get them in trouble in an audit, I wasn't going to go blab back to Mary about it.
So to be clear then, it sounds like this is something you provide to ones that we don't just service in the terms of providing an audit for. You have helped many community action agencies, whether they're an official audit client or not then.
Right, audit clients, not audit clients, we don't care. We'll
help
just
them
help
all.
you. Yeah, I think everybody in the nonprofit world, especially community action, they want to do the right thing. They just need to know what that right thing is. So we help them
You help
know
them
the
out
right
with
thing.
that. So, Mary, one of the things that I'm really picking up on then is the fact that we are truly trusted advisors to these clients. Can you give us some more information about how you interpret this and how you can I'm thinking you're going to agree with me on this one, but talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I hope that our clients do look at us as trusted advisors. And again, it's all about developing those relationships with clients along the way, and kind of building. I feel like Snodgrass has built a reputation, and I'm going to speak specifically to community action. I think we've built, especially in the state of Ohio, we've worked with many community actions, as Terry has said, both as clients and not as clients. So when we were working with a client, there always is the independence issue, so we have to deal with that. So we have to watch, there's certain lines we can't cross and certain services we can't provide. But what we do in those particular situations is we can kind of like oversee the process and say, wait, we can bring in some people that we have contacts with that might be able to help you and can provide some services that we can't. But so we can help them that way. And then for those that we're not providing audit services for, we certainly can get into the more in-depth and helping them get through challenges that they might have. But I think, again, because of the many years we've worked with community action, and it goes back clear to 1990 when single audit came about, that's when Snodgrass picked up our first community action client. And we've built that over the years and are one of the major audit providers in the state of Ohio for audit services of community action. And we're very proud of that. We work hand in hand with the state organization as well, and that's how we part with them to do some of the training that we did. And we can continue to do that, and I hope that's something going into the future that we can obviously continue to provide those types of services.
Well, it sounds like we have the expertise to guide us with that along the way, speaking specifically to Terry with helping with that as well, too. Terry and Mary, thanks so much for joining the podcast today. It was really informative to hear about how we're servicing not only the nonprofit clients, but especially the community action agencies as well. And before we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to add, Mary, about how we're moving forward, what's coming up, different things like that?
Absolutely, Nor. So we're pretty excited about this. Our mission here at Snodgrass is we really want to grow our presence in the community action, whether it's from a training perspective, whether it's providing audit services or consulting. This community action, they're a core group in their communities, and they're providing such vital services in all of the communities that we work and some of us live. And so it's kind of a passion of ours. course, we, enjoy working with not-for-profits, but again, we've developed this little niche with community action, and they're just great people to work with, and they're super dedicated to their agency's missions as well. So in light of that, we would like to continue to grow our not-for-profit section and clients and build upon that and grow our staff as well. We're really looking for, so anyone that wants to get into public accounting and you have a mission to help serve your community, join our not-for-profit group. We'd love to have you. It's super rewarding, and you get to work with some really great people who are dedicated in their communities as well. So, yeah, and as part of that, so something that we're also looking at doing is providing a 2-day training seminar. We're starting out small. We're going to do it for clients. We hope to bring this as an annual event. We're going to talk about a variety of topics, that some of the things we talked about today, so the things that they're having trouble with, so things like cost allocation, gap reporting, and things like that. We've also have a couple experts coming in to help us work with some of the software that are specific to community action. So some of them are using Abila MIP and using GMS. So we have some experts that are users of that software that we've brought in to kind of even provide some additional consulting and assistance for that 2-day training.
And it sounds like, from my understanding, that that's also for continuing professional education credits for clients, too.
Absolutely. So we have clients, obviously, that need to get continuing ed, just as we do. So we're going to offer that as a service to them, too, and provide those credits. Yes.
I really enjoy hearing about that, and again, about just how proactive you are with helping not just clients, but the community as a whole, too. Thanks again so much for joining us today on the podcast.
All right. Thanks, Lenore.
For those of you who have been joining our podcast, thanks again for tuning in. As a reminder, we have offices in Pennsylvania, both in the Philadelphia area as well as the Pittsburgh area. We also have an office in West Virginia and in Ohio. However, we do service clients regularly throughout the United States. For more information, you can go to our website, www.srsnodgrass.com, to learn more, and I encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn as well.